We're ready? Okay, good evening, everyone. Bonsoir, Ani, and welcome to our April 20th meeting of council. I would like to start this meeting by acknowledging that we are on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe people in the Robinson-Huron Treaty area and wish to recognize the neighboring community of Dokis First Nation. While we meet today, I would like to take a moment to acknowledge the importance of the lands which we each call home. We do this to reaffirm our commitment and responsibility in improving relationships between nations and to improving our own understanding of local Indigenous peoples and their culture. From coast to coast to coast, we acknowledge the ancestral and unceded territory of all the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations people that call this land home. And with that, I'd like to move to get the adoption of the agenda. So I need a mover and a seconder, Randy and Bob. All those in favor? Thank you. Any disclosures of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none. There are no delegations tonight. And we'll move on to the reports. So under 6.1, general government, we'll have the quarterly report from the clerk's department. Madam Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this report, I would like to highlight items from in relation to the election. So since the last report, council had authorized not vote by mail, on an alternative voting method going to internet and telephone. So since then, we released a request for proposal. We received two proposals. Out of the two, I have chosen IntelliVote. And since then, so ongoing, we've been communicating to set up the system. There's a lot of planning and setup for the software for the required activities throughout the election, setting up our timelines and key tasks and the processes. Following this, staff will receive training. So following training, we will then train candidates and make a presentation to council on the Zoom platform just to inform the public. And so by May 1st, nomination period starts. Candidates can come and file their nominations. To that point, I'm preparing our policies and procedures in relation to the whole election process and the voting method, and preparing the candidates package. Package is ready for May 1st. In the meantime, candidates who are interested in learning more information about the elections and the election process and filing their name or filing their candidacy, I have a link in the report, and I have a link on the website on the municipal page to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs website for the candidates guide, the voters guide, and the third party guide. And that would conclude my report if there's any questions.
Questions for the clerk with regards to elections? Any?
That program that you're using, you will own that and be able to use it at the next election, or will you have to look for a different method again?
So that will depend on council. So every election term, I go back to council to seek what their preference is on the method that we use for the vote for that upcoming election. So if this election goes well with this method, I might recommend to council to continue. So every election term, we need to go through another either a proposal process or continue an agreement with the current provider.
So this is a special program just for this election, basically.
Yes,
it's not a program that you'll be able to keep and reuse. Like it's
if I may, Madam Mayor, just to help out. No, it's not a software program.
Okay, that's what I meant.
It's a company that offers the service. So it's basically we're paying a license fee sort of,
For this-
to run the election. So it's going to be something that comes forth. It's not a program that we own ourselves like other software programs.
Okay, that's what
Yes.
that's
Okay.
exactly
Now-
what I wanted to know.
Now I
Thanks, Mark.
understand. So for example, we have access to the software for the voter list management. So that's a software provided that we use through agreement through DataFix. So we're continuing that agreement to have access to the voters list. So that's the software that we use to update the voters list, to delete and so on. And then that software or that company provides that data to IntelliVote to produce the voter information letters. So it's a license fee that we have for the period, for a specific period of time for this election.
You knew what I was talking about, even though I spit it out.
Other questions? None? Seeing none? All right. Let's move on to 6.1.2. We have a resolution to authorize Councillor Hazlett's successive absence from meetings of council just for a short period of time. So as we know, Councillor Hazlett is running for the provincial election, which is going to be held on June 2nd. And with that, Councillor Hazlett has asked for a leave of absence without having to give up his seat, and which is a great thing. Not that a great thing you give up your seat. No, that came out so wrong. Sorry, Randy. I think it's a good thing that you're seeking election. So, and I do wish you the very, very best of luck with the elections, and hope you do very well. And take it easy on that campaign trail of yours.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just for public's knowledge, you have to step down for running a provincial campaign from a municipal seat. So it's not a choice. It's part of the municipal act. So I'm taking a leave of absence for 30 days while the election's ongoing. So I'll miss at least 2 meetings, and then we go into recess for the summer. So there won't be any further meetings to attend because, of course, I'll have one, and I should take Parliament to or Queen's Park for 1st of July, I think. So let's hope. That having been said, yes, it's been a great adventure serving on this council, and it's been really a great experience. So thanks to all my colleagues.
Bob,
All the best to you, Randy, and I will move that motion.
So it is duly moved and seconded. Be it resolved that council authorizes Councillor Randy Hazlett's successive absence from meetings of council beginning on April 30th until June 3rd while he participates in the Ontario provincial election.
all those in favor? I think it's unanimous. Randy, don't worry. Again, best of luck. All right. Let's move on to 6.1.3, resolution to move our regular council meeting schedule August 17th to August 24, so that we can allow member of council to attend the AMO conference, which is being held in person in Ottawa during that week. I need a mover. Councillor Renee, seconder. Councillor Randy.
It is duly moved and seconded. Be resolved that council agrees to move the regular council meeting scheduled on August 17th to Wednesday, August 24th, 2022, to allow members to attend the AMO conference.
All those in favor? Thank you. Let's move on to finances, quarterly report, budget versus actual. And I believe Mark Flitty, you are there.
Thank you.
There you
You hear me well, I hope? Yes. So for the activities during Q1 for 2022, the 2022 operating capital budgets were approved by council on March 16th. We are in the midst of the financial audit for the 2021 year end, and we're going as planned. And I also wanted to make a note of the sale of land for tax arrears for roll number 050. 00006000000 for 99 Sigay Road, Noelville. It's for next week. Tenders are invited for the purchase of the land and will be received until 3 p.m. Next week, April 27th, at the French River Municipal Office, located at 44 Saint Christophe Street, Suite 1, Noelville. Minimum tender amount is $13,223.10. And for further information regarding this sale and a copy of the prescribed form of tender, please visit the municipality's website or the website www.ontariotaxsales.ca. And if no internet access is available, we have paper copies of the tender package at the municipal office in Oilville. For the variance reports, I attached a variance report for the operating budget for Appendix 1. And in general, we just approved the budget. So in general, revenues and expense are in line with the 2022 budget amounts and also in line with last year's results. In Q2 and going forward, we will include a capital budget variance report. We have not included one for Q1 because we're in the capital budget has just been approved in March 16th, and also we're out to tender. So we'll have more information next quarterly report.
Thank you. Any questions for Mark?
Yep.
Oh, okay, sorry. Go ahead, Rick.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Question for treasurer. So 2 questions. So the sale of that land, so the amount that you gave, 13,000 and change, I'm assuming that's the amount that's in arrears. And secondly, I'll let you answer both at the same time. And secondly, if there's no bid to that amount, so we're not selling of the land. I mean, so nobody can bid lower, correct?
Exactly. The minimum amount is the taxes in the books, also the legal fees and all costs, so that the municipality recovers all fees relating to that role. So the minimum amount is $13,223.10. Any bid lower than that will be rejected. And if we receive no bids for this amount, then we have other options. We can resubmit, go back to tender, to another public tender, or we could vest the property in the municipality's books, or we let it stay in arrears and go back to public tender later on. So we have different options. Right now, we're hopeful that we will get tenders. I think the discussing with other municipalities across Ontario, there's a strong demand for real estate in the current market, and this is a property with a house on the property. It's a 2-acre property, so I think we're hopeful there will be a demand for that property. So feeling that we'll have to look at other options.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for the treasurer? Seeing none, we'll move on to 6.3, quarterly report from Environmental Services. We have Kevin.
Good evening. Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just going to run through some of the highlights of this quarter. EXP, our engineer firm, completed the final draft of the environmental assessment, should be coming to council shortly. They also completed a site visit to hash out some of the details on our leachate system we have going now. They're going to come back to us with a plan to attack that. Environmental Advisory Committee meetings were held on the 24th of February and March 30th. We held student interviews for the summertime employment. And we also brought the waste management bylaw to the committee for review and comments, which will be coming up to council shortly as well. I'd like to point out that our contaminated recycling percentage is still sitting at about 40%. It's 41 to be exact. We had one commercial bin infraction and about 9 hours spent by Public Works picking up bulk waste at the transfer sites. And that's pretty much it.
Any questions? Randy?
Not a question, just a comment in general to say that the 9 hours pickup waste in the quarter was a huge improvement over the last 2 years. So we're finally making strides in the municipality with waste. I think the changes in Noelville here are helping. And I think that, you know, having Riley around and surfing the bin sites has certainly helped a great deal. So it's really encouraging to see the changes that have come through now.
Any other comments?
Yep.
Oh. Seeing none?
Yep, I do.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Oh, Rick. Oh, I
Yes.
thought you were a ghost.
No. Thank you. It's just a question, I guess, two questions at the same time. So the 41%, how different is that from where we were, let's say 6 months ago? And of course, as we made the change only late in the fall, we'll probably see obviously way more activity over the next few months, especially as seasonal people are coming back into the area. So do we have any plans to monitor that a little bit more in our new venture of the garbage services that we offer?
Through you, Madam Chair. So yeah, we're still sitting at the 40%. It's pretty much constant what we're getting out of those transfer sites, but with the rollout of the curbside recycling program, that we should see a change in that. So hopefully we'll come to next quarter and see a bit of a difference on the contamination rate.
So just a continuation. So with campers and people coming into their cottages over the next month or so, do we have any plans to further the monitoring of these sites, or are we planning on doing anything different? So if there hasn't been much change to the 41%, although I do see that there will be an improvement with obviously the bins, of course, but in general, I mean, do we do anything different moving forward?
Through you, Madam Chair. So with having the bylaw officer there, we're going to see the same problems, in my opinion, with the open sites, because if 80% of the people recycle properly, and then it takes 20% to contaminate those bins while they're there. So really, with the open transfer sites, Noelville's getting better because it's closed down, and monitored with all the cameras. But with the new bylaw coming in to effect, hopefully when you guys see it the next 2 weeks and having a bit more power there with that bylaw, we should be doing better. So hopefully we're going to see it come down.
Councillor Dean.
Kevin, when you are examining or finding the contamination in that recycling, is there anything in particular that stands out in terms of the kind of contamination or what's contaminating that recycling the most? And the reason I ask that is because we're finding at the Environmental Committee that a lot of people are not aware of stuff that shouldn't be in there. I'm not sure whether we should be thinking about this in terms of some education or re-education on what goes in there. And I just use, for example, the fact that nobody seemed to know that plastic bags weren't supposed to go in that recycling. And I just, so I'm asking, do you notice or is it noticed that there's any particular kind of contamination that stands out?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair. So it is definitely misuse. It's not so much the plastic bag, the clear plastic bags, because they will pull those apart. They can see that it's all recycling. It's people just throwing garbage in it.
The wrong stuff.
Just
Yeah.
Regular black garbage, household waste in with the recycling. That is majority of the problem.
So that's an education issue. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Follow up.
Sure.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So just not to sound critical, but if we've made changes to the the bins, the accessibility and closing Wellville for certain days of the week and all that. And at the end of the day, we have no improvement on the garbage that's in the recycling. How do we justify the changes that we've done? Although it's been a short period of time, but with the volume of people coming in over the next few months, it sure is not going to be any better.
Through you, Madam Chair. So we have seen in Noelville a big change just in people's habits, knowing that it is being monitored. There's cameras everywhere. You can't really get away with anything. There's no bulky items being left. And just people from out of town not being able to use it because they don't know the hours of it. They come by and they see it's closed. So we've just deterred it. So it has been working, but you're right. Like with the recycling bins being open and unmonitored, there's really no way to stop it from someone coming in and misusing it. But we have seen a big improvement with that site for sure.
Mark?
Yes, so I'll jump in here. Two things. One is now that May is rolling around, enforcement is going to ramp up again as per our discussions with bylaw. Secondly, the committee will be apprised of the second phase of our improvements, which included looking at our other sites to change them similarly to what is being incorporated in Noelville. So we're in our initial stages that we started this week. And so there's further information that will be coming to the committee with recommendations coming forth to council. So there is a plan coming forth to look at the other sites for improvements. As you can see, just in bulk items alone at the Noelville site, there's been a dramatic improvement, and hopefully we can incorporate that at the other sites.
Any other comments? Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Okay, we'll move on to 6.3.2, the quarterly report from the Public Works Department. And I believe Bob is there. And Martin, both of them.
Good evening, everyone. I'll be leading the show for this one.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
Thank you. For the Public Works quarterly report this last quarter, nothing out of the ordinary. Everything seems to be very regular. I'll just go over a couple of the key highlights. So we have awarded our new contracted service for our grader to French River Contracting this past quarter, as well as implemented the tender for the supply and application of dust suppressant, so our annual calcium, which also went out to a very recognized company we've used many years. And we had our Public Works Advisory Committee on March 23rd discussing winter operations. And besides that, not too much to add, unless someone had any questions about the quarterly report. Everything is basically status quo.
Renee.
Do we have any issues with beavers or plug culverts? I know with everything melting and everything else, it's been an issue in the past, but how are we doing with that this year?
We kept up. Fortunately, we had about 24 culverts that we steamed this year, all of which have been identified for this summer to be replaced. Most of them were collapsed and old and rotten, so they're all on the list to be replaced next year. So the more we replace them, the less we will have next year to deal with. As for beavers, this past quarter, we've actually removed 30 beavers, which is relatively high, not incredibly high, but higher than the average.
Dean.
Martin, I'm noticing the quarterly statistics in Public Works, and I can't help but look at the downtime on those garbage trucks. But what I find kind of curious is that the 2008 garbage truck has far less downtime than the 2016 one. And I wonder if there's anything to attribute that to. And the other thing I was wondering in this downtime is the problem, mechanical problems mostly with the trucks or with the garbage part of that thing. I mean, the processing of the garbage, the lifting, all that sort of thing. Where does most of the problems come by those?
Yeah, definitely. So to just your first question, the 2016 garbage truck is the majority of the time it's down because that is our primary garbage truck. We usually only run one garbage truck per day.
Okay,
And since it's on the road more than the older vehicle, it tends to break down more because we use it more. When you're also asking for why, it's one is age and two, it is the garbage. Sometimes it's primarily the packer that breaks in the new vehicle. There's no packer in the 2008. So basically what happens is when people throw in wood, concrete, steel into the new garbage truck, we try to compact it and it only goes so far and sometimes it doesn't retract. So then we have to dump the garbage and then bring the vehicle back to the shop and repair that. And depending on what the mechanic does that day or the day after, that's why it sits. As for the 2008 garbage truck, it does not have a packer. So we don't have that issue. We just load it up and we dump. But because of that, we can't carry as much waste. Therefore, it takes longer to actually perform the day's duties with it because we have to go back and forth to the landfill more often.
so as I understand what you're saying, the problem, a lot of it is still what's going into the bins.
Yes, primarily, yes. Other issues we have are hoses that fail and just regular maintenance stuff.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Martin, I did get a question from somebody. They were asking, when will the streets be swept? That's not till May or June, right?
We actually had our contractor came in to French River today to take a look at our roads. The plan is hopefully by mid-May.
Mid-May? Okay, thank you. Any other questions?
Oh, sorry, just to add on to that.
Sure.
I don't know if anybody's noticed, but the MTO has started cleaning the streets in
Yes.
Alvin. So that has the highways are being done, but our side streets are still coming.
Okay. That's early for MTO.
Yeah, well, they're also in the process of changing companies, so they're trying to get everything wrapped up.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you. We have a resolution to award the contract for the supply and application of dust suppressant. I need a mover and a seconder, Randy and Renee.
It is duly moved and seconded. Be it resolved that council awards the contract for the supply and application of dust suppressant to Polar Distribution Inc. for the amount of 0.3375 per liter for 2022 plus HST.
Thank you. Was there any comments on there? No? Yeah, that's what I thought too. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, thank you, Martin. Now to the Recreation and Community Services Quarterly Report. Now I believe we have Bob for that one.
Good evening, Council. Some of the key highlights for the last quarter was the vaccination clinics that were still being held at the Alvin Community Center, as well as the programming for the through the UniV Center. We were shut down the arena for all of January, but we did make up for it in March because the minor hockey and the Rapids completed their season in March and into April. Apart from that, if you have any questions.
I guess with the pandemic, the recreation part is kind of limited, right? So any questions for Bob? Renee?
Just a comment, I guess. The 209 hours of the hall rentals, the free hall rentals, would that be for all the clinics and stuff that we've had?
Between the clinics and the programming that the UniV puts on at the Alvin Community Center.
Okay, thank you.
Any other
Welcome.
questions? Seeing none, Thank you, Bob. I think that's it for you tonight. We'll move on to Emergency Protection Services and quarterly report from bylaw. So Kevin is still here. Yes, I see.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. I think we should almost put these two departments together because I'm gonna go over some of the same stuff with the bins.
Yeah, I think you're right.
So monitoring of the waste stations has continued from last year. There's been a drop in offenses from this quarter, just from lower population in the colder months. Charges have begun to pick up again this March. The first quarter, the department has been focusing mostly on reviews and updating existing bylaws. Just some upcoming information. Traffic, noise, property standard bylaws are all being updated. Animal control has been passed and will soon be implemented. Waste management has been updated and soon will be submitted to council. Administrative monetary penalties are to be added to most of our municipal bylaws, along with a framework to administer the penalties within the municipality. We're working with SEBS to complete that. This quarter for training and conferences, Officer Merrifield attended the MLEO Part 1 Foundations course, and he got his certificate. Also, myself and Officer Merrifield attended a defensive training on March 16th and 17th. We received our baton and OC certification. This quarter, we've had 7 complaints, 3 closed, 4 are still ongoing. There's been 6 Part 1 tickets issued. They're all waste management related. 1 parking ticket issued, and 29 dog tags sold. And that's all we got for now.
Questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Kevin. Rick, you're fine? No questions?
No, all good.
You're all good? Okay, great. All right. Thanks again, Kevin. We'll move on now to the quarterly report from Fire Department. Arak?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm just going to go through the key highlights of Fire Department. Fire Department agreement, we responded to a house fire on Hartley Bay Road, which is in the municipality of Killarney. That's part of our fire protection agreement. We were also assisted with that fire with the Henby Inlet Fire Department for a tanker. Recruitment and retention, we have 1 new firefighter at Station 1, Noelville, and 1 junior recruit at Station 1 also. Update on Fire Department, mandatory NFPA certification, that's National Fire Protection Association, will be coming in effect in July 1st, 2022. I have a separate report to talk about later on. And we completed our annual ice water rescue training, which we did at the 607 bridge. Any questions?
Any questions for our fire chief? Okay. I think you're on for 6.5.3.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Back in November, the fire department was made aware of new regulations that will be coming in effect July 1st, 2022 about mandatory certification for all volunteer firefighters, even career and even composite. The OFM had a discussion with all the stakeholders, the Ontario Fire Chiefs Association, municipalities, AMO, and many others. For our fire department, we'll have a review of our establishing and regulating bylaw, a review of our training with our officers, more like a game plan for the next 4 years. I already had a discussion with our firefighters about attending these goals for the next 4 to 6 years. Glad to say that they are all on board to reach those goals. There is a additional cost that will come with this. It's an increase in cost to get all our members, which we have about 30, but eventually will decrease as everybody's certified. We don't need to recertify, and eventually we'll have our training will decrease, and we'll just be whoever joins new will have to get certified, which we'll be able to possibly send to a regional training center and train that way, which is easier for us. Starting July 1st, 2022, we'll have 4 years to complete our firefighter 1, firefighter 2, and our operational hazmat level. This is to do our exterior attack, interior attack, and any other activities on fire grounds. We'll have 6 years to complete our specialized rescues, such as vehicle extrication and ice water rescue. So after we are all completed with our levels, we'll attend to these specialized extrication. Once the fire department is successful, there won't be a recertification. We'll be in-house knowledge, keep doing our regular training as we do. I'm also was able to successfully this year to have the OFM's Mobile Live Fire Training Unit in September, which will be parked at our Public Works. And I've been in discussion with our partners, Henby Inlet First Nation. They're getting the Mobile Live unit also, but they requested that they could put it at our Alvin Community Center, as that week they have their annual powwow. So hopefully we get all our firefighters trained, updated and to their standards, and that we are able not to change our establishing regulating bylaw. Any questions?
I just have a comment. You just did ice water training. So would that count towards their certification?
No.
Really?
Yes.
Well, that sucks.
It's,
I mean, it doesn't make any,
I understand.
okay.
Many fire chiefs and many others had that discussion with the fire marshal. They wanted to done it right, proper, and that's how they're coming up with this new regulation.
And the extractions, you already do extractions, right?
Same thing.
Well,
I'm curious.
sure, go ahead.
A
while I-
question out of curiosity. So ice water extraction is a requirement in the certification process, Rob? Is that?
It's part of our establishing regulating bylaw. It's the former chiefs that introduced the ice water rescue to council. Council approved it. So we have to maintain it, keep our
Okay.
training, and which we do to the level of the NFP standard. This is just gonna have to make sure that we have a OFM, Fire Marshal Proctor come in, certify us. Once we're certified, then we just keep our regular training like we do yearly.
The reason I was asking that question was because I was thinking municipalities who do not have much water in their municipality might not go through that routine for firemen, right?
Yeah, they won't need to do it. They'll have to review their bylaw. If they don't have like
I see.
call for service for those specialized rescues,
Yeah.
they shouldn't be doing it. We do get calls. We've actually.
We have a
reached
lot of
calls,
water. in
and
our
we have a
municipal-
lot of water.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I just was curious. Thank you.
I think, Madam Mayor, if I may, what's important to note is we need to train to what council approves within our bylaw, which
Okay.
is exactly what the chief is putting into place with our volunteers. So part of that specialized services as adopted by council is interior firefighting, ice rescue, extrication within the highways. So those are things, unless council wants to change the bylaw, that's your prerogative, but we need our staff to be trained to that level minimum.
Well, I think that the extent of the bylaw really is recommendations from the fire chief, what he thinks is required or what we need in this community. So I'm willing to.
Thank you.
Just out of curiosity. So you're saying there's 6 levels of training or 6 different courses they got to take?
Yes.
How is that different from being a regular firefighter? And will our volunteer firefighters expect more money once they're trained?
It's a good question. Most of the training, we are hoping it will be all online, learn at your own pace. And we'll take advantage of such as the mobile live unit and get ask the fire marshal to send a proctor. We teach our firefighters what to do. They come, they evaluate, they pass them. So we're hoping with just our regular training and some extra training in the online courses that we're able to get them through.
And that'll be enough.
Yes.
And we won't expect them to ask for more money or never say never. But you know what I mean, right? Because I mean, depending, I don't know how
It's
educated you need to be a firefighter. I know there's a course in that. But if we're requiring all our volunteers to have all these courses, they may require or want the same kind of income that's coming from being a real firefighter, right? Will we lose our volunteers? Well, yes, but I just mean if they have the certification, the cost of a fireman in Sudbury who gets paid full-time to do that compared to what we give our volunteers is quite different.
Yes, it is.
So is that something the future holds for municipalities? Like, that's where, you know, with all this extra training, is that something we're gonna have to eventually look into?
The training as per policy and as per the volunteer firefighter policy is all covered, including per diems for lost hours of work to take the training. So they're not out of pocket, and I ensured the chief that that policy is appropriate and is mandatory to make sure that our volunteers get trained. So they're not going to be out of pocket. In terms of compensation, that's a bridge we're going to have to cross when we get there. We are a small municipality. So we have to, you know, there's only so much resources that we have available to us. That being said, we value our volunteers, and any recommendations that's come from the volunteers and or the fire chief in terms of appropriate equipment, appropriate resources, and appropriate training has never been put aside by this council. And I'm sure that will continue to remain in place.
And I will continue to monitor the policy and and make sure that we are also not shortchanging our volunteers also.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The way I see it, they're volunteer firemen. They give their best to the municipality. The more training they get, the better service, the better protection we have. It might cost us a few dollars down the road. I look at it in the next 10 years, if one life is saved, might be a child, I'll pay those extra dollars. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, Councilor.
Dean?
I have a kind of a curious question. I know from experience that because we have a fire department, most everybody that's have access to that gets a better deal on their homeowner's fire insurance. There is, I don't know how much of a difference, it probably varies company by company, but most would charge us more if we didn't have a fire department. So I'm kind of wondering, when we have all our firefighters, certified firefighters, even though it's a volunteer fire department, I wonder if that could make a difference again in the insurance premiums people might pay. In other words, would insurance companies be inclined to say, well, we could lower your rates, so you got a hell of a good fire department there?
That would be a question I could ask at our conference that I'm going in May, because there'll be insurance companies there.
Or we ask the insurance companies.
But I think I want to make something clear. Our firefighters are trained continually. The
Yes.
only difference now is that the OFM wants to put their stamp of approval on it.
Yes.
It's not because they're not trained properly. They're absolutely wonderfully trained. They provide such a super service. And I agree with you, Bob. I think that whatever we pay for our firefighters, I call it peace of mind. And so for me, that goes a long way. But they are trained. So now it's a layer of government that's imposing another obligation, which is downloaded to our firefighters. So
Yes.
means a little bit more paperwork, means for them to have to do official online courses, even though they're getting the training. But when they come, the OFM comes in to test them, they'll be ready because
Yes.
they already are trained and they already have the knowledge, most of them, except for our new recruits, of course.
Yeah, new recruits. which-
Yeah, I take that into effect, but the ones that have been there for a while, they're trained.
Yes, yes.
Randy.
Through you, Madam Chair, my only comment too would be is that the training is good for the firefighters themselves. To help them survive their job and to do better for themselves. I mean, yes, it is an extra layer and training is rigorous, but it's to help save their lives as well too. So it's important that way as well, to consider the firefighter. Thank you.
I didn't mean it in a bad way. I just meant like for some small communities. So if you take Minettville, who has no volunteer firefighters or has a hard time to get a volunteer firefighter because they're out of West Nipissing. And now they're imposing all these new training methods, like down the road is like, the training is 100% good. And yes, I agree, there is no cost to saving a life. I don't have an issue with the cost. I'm just saying how far will it go? Will it be like, will the province mandate that, our firefighters or volunteers will have to be as trained or as much trained as a normal firefighter? Is that where they're going with this down the road?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So at that point, we will be dealing with different issues of like, how are the small communities gonna afford to have, well, like, they're not gonna want to be volunteers anymore. They're gonna want a real salary at the end of the year and stuff. And, if we have to have a crew of 4 or 5, like, I mean, down the road, it may not be today, but in 10 years or 20 years from now, if we have to have 10 firefighters on call, that's gonna be a big cost to these small communities in Northern Ontario because we won't be able to afford it. The training is good by all matters, but to what level is it gonna be pushed is, a concern for in the future.
That's been a lot of chatter in the media, especially
Yes.
coming from rural communities who cannot afford full-time firefighters. And these, to me, this seems to be a movement to go towards full-time firefighters, which is not affordable in a small rural community. So as counselors, we need to support our volunteers and try to put a stop to make sure that that doesn't happen, because then what happens, then we have no fire services. And that's the raw reality that is facing us with some of this, I call it backdoor certification, as if we're not doing it right. We're doing it wonderfully. There's nothing wrong with what we're doing. It's just a slow movement to change something which will become unaffordable for rural communities, and not just in the north, but any rural community.
Agree.
That's my opinion. Rick, did you have your hand up?
Well, I was just going to make a comment. Thank you. I mean, I agree that certification might require or might not require, but may lead to maybe further pay increases down the road. But let's not forget, the volunteers are not giving a full-time service as the firefighter is sitting at the fire hall all the time. So I mean, you can't expect to pay a volunteer firefighter the same salary as a full-time firefighter. So I mean, as somebody said a while ago, I guess we'll deal with that down the road if it comes to the table. But until then, we could be talking about this for ages, and we're not going to achieve anything.
Thank you, Rick. Rock, did you have anything else to say?
No, not at this time.
Not at this time. Thank you, Rock, for your presentation. We'll move on to 6.6, building planning and development. Mark, are you going to address that? Because Andrea's not there.
Through you, Madam Chair, in the absence of Andrea, as you can see, we're off to a good start for 2022 in terms of permit issues, and first quarter is always a little bit slower, but I can assure you that Andrea and the department have been extremely busy, even with the shared services of 3 communities. So in terms of residential construction, you can see there's right now 11 permits with $1.2 million in value, 6 commercial permits for a total construction value of $1.43 million. That's
Any comments?
Adding assessment.
Yeah, I thought, even though it's, you called it a slow start, I thought 1.2 or $1.4 million in new starts or permits is not what I consider slow. So it's great. It's great. So you can imagine what's going to happen this summer, right? Spring and summer. All right, let's move on to, there's no current correspondence. I need a resolution to adopt the items contained in the consent agenda, moved by Randy and Renee. All those in favor? Thank you. There are no notices of motions. We'll go to announcement and inquiries. So this time I will start with Mr. Bob. I just want to keep you guys on your toes, that's all.
That's okay. Thank you, Madam Mayor. My only announcement is this Friday is Earth Day, as we all know. I've already talked to some of you and booked you to be working. Councillor Dean informs me that we have to move some trees from his van to my truck after this meeting. And I'm informing you, Madam Mayor, I need you to deliver them tomorrow. Schools would like to have them by Friday. We can discuss this
Okay.
after.
Okay. We'll talk after.
Time slots, I got noon to 2, 10 to noon to 2, and 2 to 4. Both in Albin and here in Noelville. Michelle and Bob, I'll be meeting them earlier in the morning to set up both places. There'll be some of the committee members are available to man the booths also and to help with setups. We'll have our new bins there on display for the recycling. We'll have the routes, mapping of the routes if people want to see that. We'll have some extra tree seedlings, which are red pine, I believe, to be given out. From what I figure, we'll probably have about 30 seedlings per booth to give out. We'll have an information sheet on our recycling, on our what we talked about, our numbers about contamination and this to give out to people. I hear there is a local maple syrup producer that donated 4 1-liter jugs, 2 to be given out free in Albin and 2 at the booth here in Noelville. It'll be a free draw. It's Earth Day. Maple syrup comes from the earth. And I'll be talking to all of you after the meeting. Merci. And one other thing, it was beautiful on the weekend, not beautiful to see the outcome, the score of the games, but beautiful to see the support that the area gave to our local Rapids hockey team. Thank you.
Randy.
You want to hit Rick first?
Oh, Rick,
is
yes, I
next.
guess I should, yes.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
You're good, okay.
Yep.
Okay, well, not a great deal. Just the French River Lions Club is selling seedlings to benefit the club. Out of the 5,000 I'm getting, I have 700 left. So that'll bring $5,600 or so into the coffers of the French River Lions Club to help the community here. Seedlings are $1.25. If you happen to want some, I have red pine, 2-year-old red pine, and black cedar or black spruce left, about 400 of each. So let me know. Other than that, just want to say thanks to everybody for my time here on council. I'm grateful to have served with all of you, and it's been a real pleasure. So hope to still be involved in the community through my provincial appointment, should it happen, to further benefit you here. But all in all, thank you.
I'll be whispering Montigere money. When you get D.
Well, I don't really have much to say. It's kind of interesting. The ice is all gone from Dry Pine Bay. It's completely ice-free, say on the 20th of April.
Not at my end, though.
No, I'm saying, said Dry Pine Bay, but even up the Murdoch Way, there's still ice on. The people at the dams were kind of curious as to what kind of ice cover there was and what the depth was. When it started to go, it went fairly fast where we are, but the water is high. I don't know what happens to it from here on. It's going to really depend on how much rain we get, because most of the snow is probably pretty much gone now. So we'll see. We're having a meeting tomorrow afternoon to hear more details from Hydro, from M&R, from the dam people, all aboard. Mark will, I'm sure, be attending also. Anyway, I don't have anything else to say, really.
Vinny?
I'll just second what Bob said. The Rapids played really well, even though they didn't win. It was some interesting games. They right down to, the last few seconds of the games to, for who won the game. So they played really well. So it was nice to see that. And the people that, supported the community, was nice to see the arena full of people. So that was good. The church bingo was a good turnout too. It was nice to see people out and about, that, the lunch that the lady served and, having soup and sandwiches the old fashioned way was kind of nice to see everybody, and everybody who gave to the penny sale to help that out. That was nice. Yeah, just nice to see people out walking in the nicer days we've had. It's that's about it. Not too much to report in the next few weeks going on. Maybe get planting flowers or, start working on that if we could get a little nicer. I think it's coming.
Okay, for me, the Edible Forest volunteers that planted the edible forest at the Alban Center, they're going to be back on Saturday between 1 and 4 to do some training in order to keep up the edible forest especially the next year, so that it really takes. The Alban seniors will have their final lunch on Friday at the Alban Community Center, because the Alban Community Center will be closed for renovations. So everybody's welcome to attend their final luncheon, and then they will likely move to do picnics at the beach for the summer, which they have done in the last 2 years, and that has gone very well. As well, the food bank will be open tomorrow from 9 o'clock till 1 o'clock for those that require any assistance. Yes.
The food bank, are we still getting funding? Or I know
yes,
it was
yes.
set to stop in March, but
I forgot, got another 15,000 last week, I guess it was last week. So that will keep us going. Yeah, it's from DSAP. So it's to help support. What we do is because we don't have, we can't supply stuff like eggs and other material unless it's donated, fridge stuff. We give gift certificates that goes along with the canning or whatever we have at the food bank, and they purchase it through Foodland. So that $15,000 goes towards the gift certificate Or it goes, for instance, the Sudbury Food Bank, who is our main contributor through DSAB for food, can't seem to get a hold of mustard of all things. This, in the last 3 months, mustard. And so I'm working with Foodland to buy off cost, and I'm using some of that money to get, mustard, which is, I know may sound weird, but for those that can't afford it, they appreciate certain things like condiments and stuff like that. And flour is another one we can't seem to be able to get. So, and a lot of people are that use the food bank make their own food. So we try to accommodate the needs now that we know our clients a lot better. So we need what the needs are. Last month, we did get a donation from Foodland for soaps, dish soap and laundry soap, which are extremely expensive. So that was quite nice. And our clients really appreciated that. So, and that's why Bob a little tight tomorrow.
Well, we'll work it out. I forgot one thing. The school in Monetville, there's 4 different classes that have been collecting recyclables. And one of their projects is to make some kind of art form out of it. Robot, I'm not sure. It's up to and these 4 pieces will be, we're trying to get them displayed, one at each of our libraries, one maybe in the lobby out here, and I got to find one more spot. So, and then maybe per week we'll rotate them, but the kids have gone out and they're going to do something.
I think that's great. Any comments from the members of the public? No, nothing? Oh, Dean?
No,
Oh,
I'm just holding my hand.
well,
I'm shielding the sun.
you're shielding the sun. Okay, Mark or Mel or Adak? No? And I have Bob, Mac, any comments from you guys? No? Yeah,
No, all good, thanks.
okay. Thank you. All right, so we don't have a closed session, so I need a resolution to adopt the confirmation bylaw. Moved by Randy and Dean. All those in favor? Thank you. And I need a resolution to adjourn.
Hi.
And I guess, Randy, I'll get you to do the last one. All those in favor?